Salute, Knicks family. Knicks and Brews is back. It's kind of a crossover. Shout out to the Queen. She on vacation. Well, I believe she starts tomorrow. But shout out to the Queen. Shout out to my guy Ron and Sim for joining me. I think the shuttle will be here shortly.
Okay.
What's up, fellas?
Kind of man. Just waiting
We
for
rocking.
something
We
to go
rocking.
down. Waiting for something to go down. That's what I'm going away.
I,
What's going to happen?
I feel like it's any day now. Again, perfect segue, right? Like right off the jump. We waiting, but I felt like the league was waiting for Kevin Durant to get moved. I said a few weeks ago that maybe that's the domino that had to fall before, the rest of these moves get made around the league, whether it's with the Knicks or just in general. And the news came out, Kevin Durant and the front office all sat down, decided they're gonna work it out, do the partnership, and see where they could go. And I think that was that domino. I mean, he didn't get moved, but it gave some closure into the speculation, or at least in the immediate future. So my question, especially you, Ron, because I know you do the NBA report. Shout out to NBA report, still Knicks fans, everything you're doing. Was how do you think this affects the Knicks? And then we'll get into the whole Eastern Conference and how you think it affects the Eastern Conference or the league in general. Because obviously he was wanted to go to Phoenix as well. But I'm gonna start off and say the first thing I think it affects the Knicks is I think a lot of us thought the Knicks were going to jump over the Nets. That was one of the teams that we could potentially jump over. With the potential of KD not being there, the potential of Kyrie maybe not being there, and them having to figure things out. Now they still got to figure things out, but obviously with him there and those other two guys, they were slated as one of the favorites last year. They may not be slated at the top of the list this year, but I think they're still. I want to say they slotted at 6 right now. Six best odds to win a chip. So that's my answer. It makes it difficult just in that standing for the Knicks that we have another team in this tough Atlantic division, which I think is the toughest division in the NBA right now. It's gonna be tough, man. That's another team that I thought we could leapfrog, and it's gonna be harder to do. I'll say that. Not impossible because they still got to figure things out, chemistry wise, and everything else, trust issues and all that. But on paper, come on, top 2, 3 team in the league, arguably, no lower than 4 in my opinion.
That sounds about right.
You know, I mean, you would think, obviously on paper they should be. A lot's going to depend on just the mix of characters, and how that works out and everything. But when you look at it on paper, they should be a team that's that's high up there and contending. I mean, any team that has KD, you would think should be contending. Well, I mean, not just KD, but KD and Kyrie, they should be contending. But
So,
but when you got KD and Kyrie, and I used to not put KD in the conversation. Now I feel like I have to put KD in this conversation. When you have those two guys, and then you have Ben Simmons that you don't know where his headspace is, you don't know what to expect.
yeah,
That's true.
now
I don't
it
know.
could go left or right. It still could go left or right, but even obviously we're Knicks fans, but just taking a broad perspective and looking at it, it's got to be better today than it was yesterday, right? Or whenever the news was announced, it's got to be better from that moment moving forward than where they were the day before, the week before. So, and they have time, the off season and start. I mean, excuse me, training camp didn't start. Everything, it might be bygones, or stick together for this goal and things of that nature. Did you guys think, as I did, that that was one of the teams that that we could leapfrog? Um,
I did. I did.
I mean, I only did depending on what happened. So I just wasn't sure. So anytime I spoke about it, I was always like, if they're not there, then the Knicks could, leap
Right.
them because you never knew what was going to happen. You know,
And, and I thought they both weren't going to be there. This whole thing is crazy.
I thought something was going to happen. You know,
and again, I'm trying my best not to make this a Nets thing, but again, if that was my decision as the front office, as the GM, I wasn't trading him either. Like,
Mhm.
I was gonna, like, it would have had to get ugly before I trade him, because honestly, I'm sure they looked around. I'm sure they weren't getting anything near the value of a return, and so even if it got ugly, I don't think the value would have decreased. You know what I mean? The packages that they were offered a week ago would still have been on the table if it got ugly. If Durant decided, hey, I'm gonna sit out, or my back hurts, or you know what I mean? I felt like those packages wouldn't have dropped any lower than they were.
right. I mean, you're
So
probably right. You're probably right. They probably wouldn't. Um, I'm telling you though, it's hard for me to see right now that they're going to be a cohesive unit.
Mhm.
That's what it's just hard for me to see that they're going to be a cohesive unit. They're going to win games based on talent, but when it comes time to really getting down and dirty in the playoffs, it's hard for me to see them coming out of the East because I just don't think they can be that cohesive right now.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Sim. I think that the, that the level of dysfunction that team has over there, it's just it's monumental, man. Like you can't make this stuff up. Guys going to clubs and walking past each other, and they're on the same team. Like it's just wild stuff. And now they got to play with, come on, man. They got to play on the same team. Kevin Durant gets himself caught in a game of chicken and he loses. So then he decides, yeah, I'm gonna resend my offer. Yeah, okay, all right. Listen, it's crazy to me. Like, you can't be like, as much as I want somebody like Donovan Mitchell to do that so that the Knicks can get him. I understand that Donovan Mitchell is a person who has integrity, a man of character. He doesn't want to take that route. He doesn't want to have to do that.
Yeah.
And then you watch how it gets done by quote unquote the best player in the league, and then it doesn't even work out. Like, he doesn't even get his way, and then he just acquiesces and just goes back to business as usual after he's already, or his camp has already come out and said a bunch of crazy stuff about the coach, about the G. Like, come on, man, it's crazy.
And you know what's crazy to me is like I feel like Kyrie and KD tried to make power plays like LeBron, but they weren't successful. So the league quickly put them in their place like you're not LeBron James.
yeah, that's crazy. Shadow, salute.
Yeah.
Welcome aboard.
All aboard and salute to the chat. You know what's really funny is that a few episodes back, we were actually having this conversation, and someone brought up, does this thing with Durant and players requesting trades? Tony, that might have been you. And I was like, everybody ain't LeBron, though. Everybody can't do this. And clearly we see everybody can't do this. Some people's about this life, and some people want to be about this life.
Yeah.
and,
And,
and
and
you got to go all in if you're gonna do it. Like the guys that, other than LeBron, that was successful in pulling it off, and it got ugly. But obviously Ben Simmons, James Harden, like, they stood on their stance.
Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis,
yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean. The one thing that you heard around the media was, KD wants to play ball. I can't see him sitting out. I
Nah.
can't see him not playing
Right.
to stand on his I want to be out of here.
Right.
So, and that was another reason why I'm like, hey, if I'm the GM, I'm calling his bluff.
Yeah.
He signed a contract. It's 4 years. You know, there's no reason to rush and do it right away. The question shuttle, and actually, I'm gonna let you go, Sim. But just to fill shuttle in on the question is, how do you think this affects the Knicks
Right.
moving forward? KD. But go
Oh
ahead,
yeah.
go ahead, Sim. You was gonna say something, and then go jump right in, shuttle.
Nah, I was just, just kind of reiterating about, the power plays they try to make. Well, I was gonna say when you look at some other guys though, like when you look at LeBron, it's different the way that LeBron moves, right? LeBron doesn't really. He might complain internally, but he ain't really bugging out, complaining like that. He understands how to handle things and how to do it. You don't hear him come out and request a trade. It's plays
Power
like, okay, I'm gonna leave when I'm done. I'm
power
on
move.
contract, then I'm out of here. You know what I'm
And
saying?
he'll take less money and negotiate his deals so they work to allow him the flexibility
Yep.
as he's projecting the next potential moves he might want to make.
Exactly.
More
You know?
strategic and
And
calculated.
opt out clauses. Like that was the big thing that made him successful, because it's like, all right, I'll ride this year out, but guess what? I'll just opt out next year and find a better situation if you guys aren't gonna fix or acquiesce to what I want.
Yeah. And LeBron has a business mind. Everybody doesn't have the same business mind, but if you don't have the business mind, don't act like you do. Just get somebody else that represents you that does. You know what I mean?
That's very key. That's key, Sim.
And take their advice and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Kyrie may be doing a little too much talking on his own behalf. And then, KD is always on, or is always on Twitter and everywhere else, shadow accounts, hidden accounts and all kind of crazy. He can't stop himself. But more importantly, how does this impact the Knicks? We've been talking about on different shows where we're projecting where they're going to be. A large consensus, as is, was basically somewhere between 6 and 9. With Kyrie and KD coming back, I think you got to easily lock the Nets ahead of the Knicks. And, I think that pushes the Knicks down as is a notch. And their ceiling is likely no higher than 7, and still looking like a potential playing team that they can, fall no lower than 9 or 10, I think.
And this, I'm assuming, is without the Mitchell trade. And then my following question would be, how much does this increase the need to pull this Donovan Mitchell trade off?
You feel like that you're the New York Knicks, and that you run the city. We got the shirts. New York Knicks run New York. We know the motto. We get it. A little shameless plug there. Nothing but Knicks.com. Go get your merch. But you also have to really compete with the star power. You know what I mean? And I mean, I don't, in my best day, I don't see RJ competing with star power to Kyrie and KD. And, I mean, you don't want to just give up the city again. You know what I mean? So, you might be compelled from that perspective. Forget about an actual performance and record perspective, but just to show that you're doing something and having the ability to, sell tickets, if you will, even though we know it's going to be sold out, but newspapers, backstory, more ESPN and all that. So, yeah, I could definitely see the team feeling more compelled to get the deal done. But I still think that Leon Rose and the team move smart. They wait till training camp and they get this guy Danny Ainge down to as little as possible. I already told you I don't trust that guy. I don't like that guy.
Yeah.
We're talking about how KD impacts the Knicks and KD impacting the season and the record that the Knicks will have. That's what we're talking about.
And we're talking about the Brooklyn Bums over there. So go ahead, big fan Breezy with the Brooklyn Nets vlog. No, we just
This is what I would say. Subscribe to the channel. Find me on Twitter, and when we play the Nets, we do a stream together, like we like to do. And we could debate it like that. Knicks fans, Nets fans, and we do it like that.
yeah,
And I think we going to the Nets game this year.
yeah. I
No,
mean, it's
you mean
funny.
the Knicks game in Brooklyn?
The Knicks game in
There,
Brooklyn,
there you go. There you go.
Brooklyn,
Oh.
Brooklyn Nets representatives called me to say, "Hey, do you want to bring some Knicks fans to the game?" That's funny.
Nice.
Just saying.
But definitely appreciate you being on and subscribing. Salute to you.
Yeah, definitely.
know.
No. I actually don't think it affects the pressure of the trade that much for me, because I think the pressure was already there. The reason why I think the pressure is already there, like I said before, is I feel like everything they've done for the last year was to gear up for Donovan Mitchell, because I just feel like they knew that it was going to come to this in Utah. Or I'm not going to say they knew. They had a very, very good idea that it was going to come to this, just from information floating around the league. So I feel like everything they did over the last year was geared towards Donovan Mitchell. And I think that put some pressure on you getting the player that you made these moves for. I think it put some pressure on it, So I think the pressure really comes from that, not the fact that KD and Kyrie and those guys are still going to be there, because, you had no idea that this was going to happen, right? With KD and Kyrie and them. You had no idea that was going to happen. So in your mind, you got to expect they're going to be good anyway, right? So we're trying to make this move so we can try to get up into that stratosphere. You know what I mean? So I think the pressure is already there. If you want to say that there's pressure there, but I think it's there regardless of, what happens in Brooklyn.
Well, to the there's a lot here. All right. So I'm just gonna throw it out there, and then you can unpack it however you want to do it, Tony. But if you want to think about everything that it affects, so one, it makes the Nets a lot better. They become a contender again, right? Especially if you can get a healthy Ben Simmons, which we still don't know if he will be healthy. Even if his mental is right, if he can go out there and like really put games together and kind of get back to where he was. But if he can be like even 80% of what he was with Philadelphia, and then you get Durant doing what he's doing, then you have Kyrie doing what he's doing, and you get a healthy Joe Harris back. That's a tough team. I'm just saying, they got some stuff. Plus, they got some role players that fill in nicely. That's a tough team. So that affects the guys at the top, because the guys at the top thought they had, they knew who they had to think about, but it was those top 4 or 5 teams that they had to worry about. Now, Brooklyn is the type of team that can knock one of you guys off in the playoffs. Even if they're not ready to win it all, they could still, make somebody's day unhappy, right? Then it affects the Knicks. It pushes the Knicks down one more peg. So now it definitely, to me, honestly, we're a playing team. Just with all the other teams that are set up to be good in the league, in the Eastern Conference, I think we're a playing team. They can fight. They can fight and maybe wind up in a spot where it didn't look like they'd make it, but that's only with Donovan. And even with Donovan, is not a gimme. So pushes the Knicks down. Then teams like Charlotte, Atlanta, Washington, those teams are like, man, we thought we had a shot. Like, we'd be fighting against the Knicks. Now the Nets just basically knock them out too, because we do know that just Kyrie and Durant alone, those 2 guys can knock the Atlantas, the Charlottes, the Washington Wizards out the frame. And if you add a somewhat healthy Ben Simmons, I don't like it. So I think it affects a lot of teams, to quite frankly, in the East from top to bottom. The West Coast, Not really, not too much, because you just like those teams that you're gonna fight each other and play throughout the season, but you're not really gonna be worried about them until you get deep into the playoffs. And that I don't think, quite frankly, the Nets will be there because they got too much dysfunction to have longevity. They can make some noise throughout the year and get into the playoffs, but they can't go far. Not the way this team is constructed with all this craziness.
Yeah.
I agree. And Phoenix, I mean, come on, they underachieved this past year, but the talent is still there, the future is still there for them without KD in particular. So I agree. It definitely affects the East way more than the West. Sim, you say you don't think it puts added pressure.
Not
What
on,
do you
not a Mitchell trade, I don't
on a
think.
Mitchell trade? But what about maybe some teams out there that would had their eye on trying to make a deal for KD, and now it's
Yeah.
shifting towards, hey, we can't get KD, Mitchell's available. Let's see, how maybe it affects us in that way. Where,
Yeah.
again, same question: can it put pressure on us now? Because now it opens the field for other guys to jump into the sweepstakes for
Yeah.
Donovan
I
Mitchell.
think
And I'm sorry, Sam. I was just going to say thank you, Tony, for bringing that up. That was like my main point that I was putting in the chat yesterday, and I forgot.
yeah, I think that right there definitely, puts a little bit more pressure on the Knicks. I still think in the back of their head they know that they can offer the best. So whoever Cleveland or whoever else that decides to offer a package for Donovan Mitchell, I think the Knicks know if we really want this guy, we can go above and beyond what they're trying to do. So I think they do know that, but I believe it does put a little bit more pressure on the situation in that regard because the longer it takes, the more teams can negotiate, talk with each other to try to put together 3, 4 team trades to get Utah what they want. You know what I'm saying? I was reading something somewhere to say, some people in the Knicks organization might, feel it's best to let this thing go into the regular season when Utah might lose a little bit of leverage. And I'm like, man, if you let that happen, and then you start seeing some rookies out here performing really well, and this guy's been getting off, a second or third year player been getting off. Now all of a sudden, Utah's like, oh, so this team has this player, and this player, and a couple of draft picks. We're willing to do that. You know what I mean? So then, it starts to change. I feel like the longer if it goes into the season, the Knicks lose some leverage then. I don't think it I think the Knicks lose some leverage because now, you just get a better sense of some players that's out there. Other players are gonna get on, jump onto the trading block. Uh all kinds of stuff, can happen. I think the Knicks, if they're gonna get it done, they need to get this thing done before training camp starts. Don't be cute. Just you ain't gotta be cute. Negotiate, get a good deal, and get it done. Don't try to
Don't throw the sink in either though, because those
nah.
players, those players that could be performing better could be Grimes, could be Quickly,
They
could
could be.
be Obi, just as well as players on any other team.
They could be. They could be. They could be. But I think the longer it goes, I think
If it goes into the season.
I think it gets tougher for the Knicks. The longer, if it goes into the season, yes. If it goes into the
Well,
season,
it's kind of like right now it's like controlling your own destiny, kind of, so to speak.
mm-hmm.
But when you let the season go and you get other players, like you mentioned, now you have other factors that, as of right now, aren't really on the table.
Right.
But
Exactly.
you wait till All-Star break. It could be anything.
It could be anything. You never know what could happen. You know what I mean? So
I see it.
Yeah.
I see it.
Could be a disgruntled star.
it
It
could,
could be somebody who boosted their value, like you said, Sim.
you know, it,
Um,
and it could be the Knicks players that boost their value. You know what I'm saying? Quentin Grimes is averaging 17 points a game or something wild, and then it's really like, oh, yeah, we really want Quentin Grimes now. So it could be that too.
Could I just say something real quick, Tony? Um, to Allah wise, I don't know what you mean, man. There ain't nobody scared of the Brooklyn Nets, bro. I'm what I'm saying is this is as Knick fans, we got to be realistic too. The Eastern Conference is better, and I think people are not giving the other teams in the East credit for being better teams. They were good last year. Some of these teams got even better, and the teams that were good last year are going to continue to be good. So it's not a cakewalk. It's not going to be easy. If the Knicks play up to par, which they didn't last year, then it's a different story. But we don't know how the Knicks are going to come out the gate. We don't know what to expect. We already know the schedule is going to be tough. But in reference to Brooklyn specifically, let me tell you something. I'm not worried about Kyrie and Durant. What the plus that I say that team has is they got two closers, especially Durant. When the game's on the line in the fourth quarter, they're a tough team to beat because they knock down big shots. But the Knicks can beat them. The Knicks almost beat them when we did the watch along. But certain things just didn't work out in our favor. However, the flip side is a healthy Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is a stopper. He's a RJ stopper. He's a lot of guys stopper. Okay. So a healthy Ben Simmons is the problem. That's all I'm saying. With the three of them together, then you got an issue. But if Ben Simmons ain't right, then that team is just the same team they were last year. I'm not worried about that team really, even though that team did get in the playoffs and knock a couple teams, out of the play-in mix. Just that team doesn't scare me. It's the whole prospect of getting Ben Simmons in the equation too. Remember, there was a time where the Knicks were playing Philadelphia really well when Ben Simmons was there, right? What they do? They put Ben Simmons on RJ, locked him down. You got to worry. Listen, you got to worry about that stuff.
I mean, the Nets are going to be good. They got those guys. They're going to be good. I kind of picture the Nets like the Clippers of the East, though. You know what I mean?
That's a good analogy.
They just like have bad luck. You know what I mean? Like the Clippers get all these players, Lob City and all of this, and they're gonna win a championship, and then the Nets is kind of like that.
No matter what they do, they get their own way.
That's what it seems like. Somehow, some way. Oh man, we got Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce.
Yeah, they got the NBA 2K.
Darren Williams.
They got a 2K squad.
We didn't need no Melo. We got all these guys. Watch what we do. Nothing.
It's the how Stephen A. Talks about the Cowboys.
Yeah, so I'm gonna believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it.
Oh wait, that's another good point, Kept Giggles. Getting a healthy Joe Harris is one person but if they get, he ain't gonna stay healthy. But if TJ Warren gives them anything,
now, that's a really good pickup. That was a really good pickup by them.
Yeah, I wanted him.
Yeah, I wanted him to come to the Knicks. But yeah, that's a good pickup. That was a really good pickup. Yeah.
Man, big fan Breezy is all up in the chat, yo. You having a blast tonight, huh? I see you. It's all good. It's all love. We see you at the game for sure. And we did play the Nets well. To big fan Breezy's point. I lost the guy's name, but they rookie. He definitely won a game against us. Kind of by himself down the stretch.
Thomas?
Yeah, Cam Thomas. Right?
Thomas, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we acknowledge the truth. You know what I mean? We but we did play y'all well, and I think we'll continue to play y'all well. And I agree, Ben Simmons is a difference maker for them as a whole, just because he feels a need, even with all his weaknesses. He feels a need if he's playing at his best, and that's defense. And I don't think they necessarily need him to score. Can't turn down layups, but they don't need him to score. Excuse me 1 second.
They got a lineup full of scorers with KD, Kyrie, Joe Harris, Patty Mills off the bench, Thomas off the bench, so
Seth Curry,
TJ Warren too.
Yeah, so they got enough scorers. Ben Simmons don't got to score. Don't shoot, pass, great, whatever. But I just hope that this motivates the Knicks team. Okay, be motivated by KD and Kyrie coming back. Don't be scared. Be inspired. Be motivated. Be ready to take the city back. RJ, Mitchell Robinson, take your city back. Let's
I won't.
go.
I won't even say take it back. I'm saying don't let it get taken away because they clearly show who runs the city. Even if the Nets beat us last year, it was clear in their arena and in ours whose town it is.
Yeah.
Nah,
So
you definitely got more Knicks fans in Brooklyn than you do Nets fans.
Yeah.
Right, right.
See it there, see
And
it
you
there,
know what?
Breezy.
They
See it
never,
there, Breezy.
they never
In
gonna
fairness, if I'm Kevin Durant and I'm playing chicken and it didn't work out, and I say, you know what, I ain't gonna get what I want, man. Too many other teams have messed this up for me, and then and then the Nets ain't willing to get me out of here. When you do look at the roster that the Nets have, it's not a bad roster. They could make some noise, so it could be worse.
and I have a conspiracy theory, and I'm gonna say my piece. I'm gonna let you guys comment on it, and then we're gonna move on to one more topic. So I had a theory, you know, the meme that goes around. KD, aren't you mad you didn't come to the Knicks? I had a theory that he really was mad, or at least contemplated, thought about it, like, oh man, I made a mistake. I should have. And his trade request was hoping that the Knicks jump into the sweepstakes. Um, I think overall, a lot of teams weren't really willing, or at least publicly willing, to give up this, that, and the third forum. I know the Knicks. Someone came out and said the Knicks had no interest at all.
yeah.
But I believe Durant wanted the Knicks to have interest and would have accepted it. He just didn't want to name us because now it's eating crow, if you will. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
All pun intended.
I definitely think he wanted us to jump into the sweepstakes, and he would have been okay if we pulled off a trade for him. But the Knicks, they had their visions elsewhere, as did most of the league, not willing to give up the farm for him, and then the writing was on the wall. Like, come on, like even the Knicks ain't even like they ain't even they came out and said we're not interested. Like, all right, let me just run it back. Try this again next year. Maybe next year I could get moved or something.
Yeah, I mean,
But
it ain't gonna be that easy.
that's
The
my
way-
conspiracy theory.
the way he fired them shots about the Knicks not being cool and all of that. Nah, it's not gonna go down like that, B. You're gonna have to make public atonement for anybody to be on board. Rose had his situation, he was AWOL, but he was dealing with something, and the team understood, they knew about it. So you could understand, appreciate that, respect it, and you could welcome him back. But in KD's case, KD, if you're listening, you gotta let the people know the Knicks is the cool place to be now, and then maybe we can sit down and have a conversation. You heard?
Hey, don't be surprised if KD, if he hits you back, if he responds to you.
At DJ Shuttle on Twitter, at DJ Shuttle NYC on Twitter.
Salute.
I don't know about that, man. Listen, I'm trying to be diplomatic and all this stuff for conversation purposes. I can't stand Kevin Durant, so I don't want that dude nowhere near the Knicks. I don't want Kyrie nowhere with his flat earth. He can keep that. I don't want them dudes nowhere near the Knicks. But for Durant specifically, at least I could say that Kyrie. I can't say Kyrie never wanted to come to the Knicks, like, ever. I could say maybe right now he didn't want to, like when he decided to go to Brooklyn, fine. But Durant is a sucker. Yeah, I said it. You a sucker. So I just think that, for someone who's supposed to be one of the best players in the league, like you're a leader naturally because of your game. It's upper echelon. It's one of the best that we've seen. That's why we put you down. Like he's gonna go down as one of the greats. There's a reason why LeBron is LeBron and KD is KD. Okay, as much as I didn't like LeBron for some of his antics and the whole thing that happened in the Knicks backyard, yeah, I'm taking my talents to Miami. Like, I respect what he did after that point. The type of player he became, the going back to Cleveland was a stand-up move, and dealing with that team that he had over there and winning. I'm like, I can appreciate that. I look at him a little differently now. KD, I'm always going to look at him through what was mentioned with the burner accounts and just everything that he's done. And then after getting, I'm sorry, I'm a competitive dude. I don't know what it's like to be a Kevin Durant, but I can't be personally on a team where I am a good player and I go to the playoffs and I get beat by a team and then join that team the next year. I can't do it. At least not the next year. I want to get my rematch. I want to fight and see if we could take you out. I'm not going to just jump ship and join y'all. That's
I
too
feel
much
you in that.
man.
Yeah, give me my chance to get my revenge, and then if you beat me twice, then it's like, all right, maybe this team got my number.
Yeah, you can't beat them.
Can't beat them, join them. but definitively, no, you can't beat them. Don't just join them. Shuttle, you muted.
He saw what LeBron and D Wade did. He saw what KG and Ray Allen and they did. So he's coming like pretty much off the heels of that. So it's not like he did it in a space where he's the first guy to do it. He was following what was the trend at that time. So I can't really knock him. He's 10 times worse for me about the Knicks not being a cool place to be. All right, telling somebody they're not cool is a whole lot worse than you Voltroning up and joining forces with people.
Yeah,
everybody wants to be cool.
Yeah, I agree with you. Although he did, when LeBron went to Miami and all of that, if you remember, he came out and made comments like, why is everybody trying to team up? Why can't they just rock with their team or whatever he said? And then, boom.
Then it was like Alex Rodriguez, allegedly. Everybody else taking steroids, I got to take steroids.
He should have used the burner for that one.
Right.
So, Sim, I already know how you feel. We talked about it on MBK earlier. And Ron, you was in the chat, but I'm going to let you express your feelings and thoughts on, the RJ thing. But I'm going to start with Shuttle because yesterday, Shuttle sent me the news clip of people in the organization. Some people are willing to move RJ in the Mitchell trade. So I'm gonna start with you, Shuttle, because I kind of gave my take earlier. I'm gonna start with you, and then Ron, you could give your take, and then Sim, if you want to reiterate, you can reiterate. But Shuttle, what are your thoughts on if we gotta include RJ to get Mitchell? The thought of the organization even being okay with it. What was your thoughts when you saw the article?
My thoughts were, just like I said weeks ago, if you're Utah, how are you not talking about RJ Barrett? How are you talking about getting one of the young players and you want the backup players that don't look like they're likely to be NBA starters? I mean, I like Quickly, I like Obi, but I don't know if these guys are NBA starters. I don't think these guys are potential all-stars, which is what RJ is. RJ's a proven starter and looks like he has strong potential to hit maybe 2 or 3 all-stars in his career. You know what I mean? Maybe more if you're optimistic. So, like, if I'm Utah, why am I not looking at that guy? Why would I not want that guy? So, I wasn't surprised and shocked as I'm sure you know. So my only thing is at this point is if you're gonna deal RJ, does Utah have anything that they could send back in terms of a small forward that would be an upgrade over Cam Reddish, who basically is the only small forward you have left, unless you're trying to play Grimes as small forward, which I hope that we're not trying to do this year.
Agreed.
So yeah, I mean, you got Bogdanovich. He's on a 1-year deal. You can keep him for 1 year, keep Cam for 1 year. I mean, you'd have to get Bogdanovich back in the deal, I would think. And but truthfully, it's hard to envision getting Mitchell and not pairing him with RJ as the trifecta with Brunson as your real, big three going forward, assuming you're going to probably move Randall at some point to strengthen the team somehow, some way, in another year or two. But, not opposed to it, but, definitely not what I would be shooting for. It's all about how the other balance comes to play with the picks and all that too. Like if including RJ in the deal, getting Bogdanovich gets it down to maybe 2 picks or so. You know what I mean? Then, yeah, I gotta have sit down and have a nice drink and think about that.
And that's exactly where I was. I don't want to include RJ. I hope nobody got the wrong impression that I did want to include RJ. What I'm saying is, if RJ brings the pick total to where it is, what they offered to unprotected, I have to listen to the conversation. I have to listen to the conversation, and as we've spoke about in the past, if it's an upgrade, it's an upgrade, right? If the one player you're getting is better than the combination of what you're giving back, like it should be a no-brainer. I understand. I'm trying not to look at this emotionally. You know what I mean? And because we're all invested in RJ. You know what I mean? We haven't had a rookie of his caliber come and show it and show improvement in 3 years in a row. We haven't had a draft pick of that high, 3rd pick in the draft. Closest thing to Patrick Ewing, as far as Patrick Ewing was first, he's 3rd. That's what I mean by close. Don't kill me. You know what I mean? But we're all emotionally invested. I'm trying to take the emotion out of it and look at it from I guess a business perspective. And again, I'm not pushing for it. I'm just trying to put myself in a situation where I'm even considering it. And it has to be with the picks going down.
And if not Bogdanovich from Utah, maybe a 3rd team with another small forward to get the deal done.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I can't even believe this is a conversation, and I don't even. I'm shocked that the Knicks, like some Knicks, in the organization, Nick Brass might even be thinking about it. But if I'm looking at it just from the business standpoint, then to me, there's only one reason you would trade or even think of trading RJ is if you don't want to pay him. If you're saying, listen, I know what he is, and while I value his talent, I just don't know if he's good enough for me to give all this money. And now I'm not even talking about the max, because I don't think they want to give the max. Someone said this before. I don't know. I don't think they want to give the max to anybody. Knicks are kind of cheap, if y'all haven't really noticed. And that's not a knock on James. Yeah, that's not a knock on James Dolan, because Dolan will pay.
I don't think they're cheap. I don't think they're cheap at all. I think we haven't had a max player. You know what I mean? I think a lot of times, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but I think a lot of times, from the outside looking in, people look at eligible for max extension, eligible for rookie extension, and think that eligible means it has to be given. Like that's the starting point of negotiation. No, you get paid what you're worth for the most part. Sometimes you get paid with the like the going rate, you know what I mean? Like the housing market. If all the houses around you are worth 170, your house may not be worth 170, but you might be able to sell it for 170. So sometimes that dictates your price as well. But for the most part, your value dictates your price. It's not just because you're eligible for max or rookie max that
if RJ's
that has
knocking
to be
on
given.
If RJ's knocking on the door, fam, and he's saying he's looking for a max right now, you giving RJ a max right now?
No.
Oh, well,
Not
so maybe that's why we having this conversation.
That's what I'm saying. Like if you're saying to yourself that the negotiation is going to be very tough, because I hear that RJ's got one of the the better agents that fights for their clients and gets them their money. If you thinking that, and you thinking that RJ is not going to want to play ball, especially that you making him wait till the end of his 4th year, then that might be the reason why they're thinking we might move off of. Because and when I say that the Knicks are cheap, I don't mean it's like they don't want to spend the money. I mean they're very frugal with how they're spending the money because they're thinking about like. I mean, I'm gonna go back. I keep giving these guys praises when they really haven't like put it together for a while for us to really give them praises. But I feel like the Leon Rose regime is trying to do things a smart way with Brock Aller and how they're putting things together. They don't want to go all in and give anybody too much money because they know they're going to need a little money for something else down the line. So, I mean, I think that if you would say give RJ maybe around 140, 150, that's a little bit of a discount. I think I could see him being worth around 140, 150. 150 is on the higher end, but like 140, I could do that. I mean, it's still tough, but I could do it. He's going to get paid more than Julius. That's without. It could be 120, and he's getting more than because Julius is getting 116. So that doesn't matter. I just think that that's one thing that they really got to think about, and I think that is weighing on them, and that's why they're kind of like, we don't want to get rid of RJ, but realistically, RJ is a slow starter. We got a really tough schedule. Is he going to have the type of year that warrants us saying, damn, you know what? He definitely deserves a max or anything close to what he would like. I don't know if that's the case, but I love RJ and I want RJ to be here. And I definitely want him, if we get Donovan, I want him to play with Donovan. But I just don't know how the Knicks look at it. I don't know if they view him. I mean, there's all I hear is about RJ's limitations. And as much as I keep saying to myself, RJ's only 22, he's got time to grow. We don't know what he can be. In some cases, the flip side happens. What you show after being in the league for years is what you wind up becoming down the line. You're a little better, but it's pretty much who you are. So I don't know. I'm on the fence about it. I hope they don't trade him. But like to your point, Tony, if they can trade RJ and there's less that they have to give up, and it'll allow them to be able to be flexible towards another move down the line, because you know they got to make another move. Donovan is a stepping stone to get them in the right direction. But if they want to get serious about this, you got to go out and get somebody else. And then you need you need capital. And if you don't have the capital, then you worried about free agents. And I'm just saying, I do think that I'm saying a lot. I'm sorry, I'm gonna wrap it up.
You good.
I do think that free agents could come to the Knicks with a Jalen Brunson, with a better RJ Barrett, with the Donovan Mitchell here. I think some of them might be interested. Problem is, who's going to be available? Mm-hmm. Guys get taken off the board all the time. Guys you think that might make it, then they wind up. Joker is off the board already. Like there's certain guys we already know that they're going to come off the board and we ain't even going to have a chance to get them. So then the Knicks are handicapped once again. All right, that's my spiel. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, a couple of things off of what you said. One, that's why you get Mitchell now. So I agree. You get him now because you don't know who's available moving forward. The trend has been, I'm signing my max extension. I'm signing my extension. I'm getting my money now, my security now. And then obviously you got the few people in between that say, I'm getting my money and then I'm going to ask for a trade. But even that is rare. One, as we've seen with Durant, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to get moved because a smart GM is going to say, no, you signed this contract. If I don't get what I want for you, then I'm not moving you. And then back to one of the things you said about the front office, I just wanted to add, giving them some kudos that even when they made their mistakes, you know, the Kimber contract, you know, the Burks arguably, the Well arguably, all these contracts that, you know, a lot of Knicks fans were mad about, they weren't as bad as we thought because we were able to flip them and move them. So, that, you know, kudos to the organization that even when they make a bad move, I think they calculate the risk and they have plans behind plan B, plan C, how to fix it if it goes wrong, opt-outs and everything else that they're doing. So just more kudos to the organization. They're not throwing money away. I'm not gonna say they're being cheap, but they're not throwing it away. You know what I mean? They're accounting for every dollar and what it means down the road. You want to add something, sir? Oh, go ahead, Shuttle.
I mean, I'm in agreement with both Shuttle and Ron, right? You know, I don't want RJ to go. I want to see Donovan Mitchell and RJ Barrett play together. And it's that close to being a deal breaker for me. In the end, I probably make the move. I think depending on what the draft compensation is like that draft compensation will have to go way down. You know what I'm saying? But it's almost a deal breaker for me because I mean, are you banking on Donovan Mitchell and Julius Randle for 4 years to be, you're that's what it is. I think you would rather bank on uh Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, RJ Barrett, and then see what happens with Julius Randle because you may need a power forward that plays a little bit different, right? In order for it to come together the way you want it to come. Now, if he starts to play the way that you want him to play, or he fits in, because he has the rock less and his 3-pointer is going down, then maybe you say, okay, maybe this is gonna work. If not, then you might, be want to try to move him to add some other pieces to your team. I just think taking RJ out is an essential wing position that you need. You know what I'm saying? And are you going to be able to find somebody to play that position that's going to be, or now you're going to be the same way you were rotating point guards? Are you going to be rotating three, you know, small forwards, trying to find someone that fits there? And you know what I mean? I guess you could say the same thing if you move Julius Randle. Are you going to be searching for that? But if you still got Obi, then maybe Obi is able to step in and play there, and his style of play might be more conducive because he doesn't need the ball in his hands as much. And you got three guys that need the ball in their hands. You know what I'm saying? So maybe that does fit a little bit better. And now you can spread. You can trade Randle, maybe get a draft pick back. Maybe bring in a young player that can come off the bench. Let Melo come off the bench behind Obi. It's something like that. You know what I'm saying? So maybe there's some things that you can do in that regard, to try to balance the team out. If it doesn't look the way you want it to look, but if you're able to get all four of them, have all four of them here, you could take half a season. Let's see how this looks. Let's see if it's something that we think we can build with because they're all for the most part young. None of them have reached their prime. You know what I'm saying? So, there could be ways that, you got to see. Let me see. You know what I mean? But I feel like RJ is an essential piece that you're taking out. You know what I
That,
mean? That you're not sure that you have the person to step in. And even with Julius Randle, if he's traded, I think you're closer to knowing that you have a player that can step in with Obi than for RJ.
that's a good point. Um, I hear a lot of people talk about, you know, um, all these guys need the ball in their hand, and I mean, I feel a little bit different. I feel like if we get Mitchell here, I feel like he's the only guy that really needs the ball in his hand. He's the only guy that is the number one option, has been a number one option, isn't trying to establish himself or become that. You know what I mean? Like Randall came in the league not as a number one option, not as a ball dominant guy. He can revert back to that and still be successful.
Well, that's some hope.
Same with RJ though. Even coming into the league, or if you want to go back to Duke, he had to share those responsibilities. So it wasn't like he was the guy. And then obviously Brunson, he's worked his way, earned his way up into, from bench player, starter, you know, I can take over when I need to, but had another ball dominant, whether you want to say guard or point forward, whatever. But so I think those three guys don't necessarily have to have the ball in their hand. I think Mitchell's the only one that really does. So I think all three of them can find and figure out a way to adjust.
So
Um,
I think what people are trying to say when they say that is that they operate the best with the ball in their hands. So you have players that operate better off the ball, and that's when they're at their peak performance. Someone like a Evan Fournier, you're not putting the ball in his hands and telling him to create. He operates best off the ball, coming off screens, catching and shooting, right? I think Quentin Grimes is that same kind of guy, operates better playing in that regard. So you're talking about having four guys who operate at their peak performance when they have the ball in their hand. So then the question is, can they do the other things? Can they operate at a peak at their can they operate at a really high performance level without the ball in their hands? Not saying that they can't do it, but their peak performance is at the ball in their is with the ball in their hands. And I think like some when you have a team, you try to have a team like with Mitchell Robinson. Why can he fit well? Because he doesn't operate at his peak with the ball in his hands. He operates at his best when he's grabbing offensive rebounds, when he's catching
receiving
alley-oops,
end.
right? That's his best way to operate on the floor, And then Evan Fournier with this team right now, his best way to operate is coming off screen. So when you have those type of pieces that fit, you can see where, all right, you got two guys that operate best with the ball in their hands, but other guys do other things off the ball, and it's easier to find ways to make those guys. You don't have to try to force them to do something and hope that they can do it. You know that this is just the way that they operate. Where with this, you have to figure out, can this guy operate this way and perform at a very high level? You know what I mean?
Now I agree. Real quick, sir. I think Randall has he's probably his most efficient or working with the ball not in his hand. You know what I mean? And just kind of reverting back to the bully ball, reverting back to the post up, which he strayed so far away from. So it definitely would be an adjustment for him. I agree. RJ's probably at his best with the ball in his hand. Brunson, I think it's probably 50-50. I think I mean, I don't know if we've even seen his best. That's the thing with Brunson. I don't think he's really even had the full opportunity yet to be ball dominant, if you will. You know what I mean?
I think people are taking it from when you look at the playoffs and he
Mhm.
had the ball in his hands and Luka wasn't there. That's when he was really putting up his numbers and he was kind of ball down.
Agree.
You know,
But I mean, I said all that to say I think there's a world where all four of them could work out and figure it out because when you have you're not taking the ball out of these guys' hand. They obviously once you get the ball, it's in your hand. So now that's your opportunity to do what you do. Maybe running the offense through certain guys, maybe that would change the dynamic of the question. You know what I mean? Like they'll still all get their opportunities. Is basically what I was saying.
Look,
What would you want to say, Shuttle?
Well, two things first, just to the folks in the chat that were talking about the max contract. RJ is up next year for a max contract, which will pay him 5 years at $188 million. So when we talk about a max contract, that's the maximum money and years that he would be available to get. So to your point, Keith, you're right. And Kevin or Kevon, $100 million is not a max contract. Brunson's not on a max contract, and neither is Randall. So we're all on the same page there, I think. So we're talking about dealing RJ, right? So let's just put a different spin, right? Again, nobody's saying please let's do it, but if we're doing it, we just put it in the air, right, Sim? We just put it in the air.
put it in the air.
All right. So I'm a GM and I'm a coach, and I'm molding the team to make it my team, and I'm trying to get a deal done, and I'm trying to get Mitch, and they really want RJ, right? I'm gonna trade RJ, Fournier, and Randall, and I'm gonna take back Mitchell and Bogdanovich. And now my lineup is Brunson, Spider, Bogdanovich, Obi, and Mitchell Robinson. So I replaced the shooting from Fournier with Bogdanovich and I've got somebody who doesn't need the ball, who's in the same ballpark in terms of 3-point efficiency, who's also only on a 1-year deal, and I'm off of Randall's contract. I think that Obi potentially, as we were talking about Sim having a balance of players that fit well together. I think Obi's ability to run the floor with Mitchell and Brunson would vibe jive well, and it wouldn't put too much pressure on Obi to overperform. Now, I know Utah probably doesn't want Randall. However, if you want RJ, then this is what you got to do to take him.
Yeah, I don't think they taking Randall back.
Yeah, well, I'm just putting in the air.
I hear what you saying. I just don't think they taking Randall back. It's not even about him as a player. I think it's they're not gonna want to commit to his contract
in the years.
And it's not a bad contract, but they're on what they're trying to do. I don't think they're trying to commit to Julius Randle. And that takes me around where when Shuttle was saying, about RJ Barrett and in the Utah Jazz, that brings me around to in the beginning, they didn't inquire as much about RJ because they didn't want to have to pay him for 4 years, sign him up for 4 years. You know what I'm saying? And maybe there's been some conversations with his agent and they kind of have an idea of what he might be looking at, and maybe they're amenable to that. You know what I'm saying? So maybe there's a change there. But for me, that's just my thought process, is that would have been a reason why maybe they weren't considering RJ at the time, is because they weren't sure if they wanted to commit to.
I thought that the hold, the alleged public conversation that the Knicks weren't excited to give up Grimes, said, well, you know what? All right, well, listen, y'all want to give up Grimes, we'll start with RJ then.
Yeah, that's what me and Tony were talking about. That you got to be careful when you're trying to do these bluffs out here. You know what I'm saying? Because a team might be like, oh yeah, we want Grimes, and then the Knicks like, oh well, they want Grimes. Oh, we're not willing to give up Grimes. You know what I'm saying? But then the team hit you with something. Well, okay, you don't want Grimes, we'll take RJ. You know what I'm saying? But really, they wanted RJ, but they trying to sucker you in somehow, and then you get caught out there.
Poker face.
Yeah. Both teams, Leon Rose and Danny Ainge, they're two cowboys in the middle of the West, in the middle of the town, staring each other down. That's what they're doing right now. Like
I wanted,
like who's gonna blink?
I wanted to tell the chat to get your tomatoes ready before I let Josh in, but I got a touch screen and I touched it. So welcome it, Mr. Controversy himself.
Yeah, get
Uncle Fulio. What's good, brother?
Go run the shop right, Safeway or Food Line or wherever you at, and go get them real quick.
Happy you could join me, man. You always welcome.
Salute, fellas. Don't listen to Tony and Sim, everybody. Don't listen to them. You know what I'm saying? I'm just joining the conversation. I didn't really catch the first half of the show or the beginning of it. I just want to come in and add my 2 cents whenever, So
I'll give you a quick rundown, and you could go ahead and go through it. Started off with Kevin Durant's decision to stay. How does it affect the Knicks? How does it affect the Eastern Conference? And then we stumbled upon the RJ. Some Knicks willing to include RJ in the trade. Some not. What's your thoughts? Your how do you feel about RJ being included in a trade for Mitchell? Most of us here, none of us prefer it. Sim is borderline ready to walk away from the deal. If RJ is included, I'm willing to listen if it brings the picks down. I believe Shuttle agrees with that settlement. Ron is kind of in the middle. He's in the middle. He's closer to Sim, but he's willing to listen.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, good evening, everybody. I just want to say that to your first question, what does it mean Kevin Durant staying in Brooklyn? It means the Knicks are going to be 4th or 5th in the division. That's what it means. You already know who the top 3 teams are. And Toronto, I mean, I know you can kind of look at Toronto's roster and say, okay, the Knicks have a better roster than Toronto, but Toronto's a really good team. And they've had our number when we played them in the regular season, for the last couple of years or so. So it may look like we're 5th. You know what I'm saying? But that still could mean we can still be in the top 10 in the Eastern Conference, right? Like I sent a super chat in earlier. Last 2 times it's happened in the Eastern Conference. It's been 2006, 2011. We've had 5 teams from one division finish in the top 10 in the East, right? Back then, 2006, 2011, the East was known as the weaker conference. So I guess that's probably why. Now the East is not as weak. So it's going to be very, very difficult. The Knicks want to get into that top 10. With that. That's even if we get Donovan Mitchell. Okay, we get Donovan Mitchell, we're probably 4th, you can argue, over Toronto, but still, Toronto's a great team, right? So that's what Kevin Durant staying in Brooklyn means for us. Moving right along to the RJ for Mitchell trade. Listen, I said for the last year and a half, 2 years, RJ Barrett wasn't untradeable to me. I've always said that. And obviously, there's people in the Knicks organization that feel that way. Like I mentioned on Dope Soul Sports Talk last night with Queen Steph, the Knicks are one of the few organizations that run this by-committee approach to their front office, meaning there's multiple people with voices within the organization where they have like this kind of roundtable kind of decision-making process, right? Other teams, like you have your president of basketball operations, but that person is also your GM, right? They're making basically all the decisions. They have some input here and there from the person who runs their player personnel and the scouting, whatever like that. But that one person is kind of like the central figurehead for basketball operations. The Knicks don't have that kind of setup, right? You have Leon Rose. He's overall in charge based on his position, but you got Scott Perry there. You got William Wesley there. They run kind of this triad of basketball operations personnel. So obviously not all of them are always going to be on the same page. You're always going to have a difference of opinion. And obviously not all of them are sold on RJ Barrett or keeping RJ Barrett and making him untradeable in this scenario. To me, I think it would make sense that the Jazz are looking for RJ Barrett, and it would make sense that the Knicks trade him for Donovan Mitchell, in my opinion. Not saying that I want to just give up on him or anything like that, but you have to look at the fact that RJ Barrett is due for a contract next year. You bring in Donovan Mitchell to play with him and Randall and Jalen Brunson. You got to question that fit. I never was a big fan of the Randall and RJ pairing fit from the get-go. I think that fit is just very, very, very clunky. If we were talking about trading, hold on, Sam. Let me just finish my last point.
I think RJ is the guy to go.
Huh?
If you're talking about those 4 together, I don't think RJ is the one to go.
Well, if you let me finish, I was going to say, if we were talking about Randall going, obviously you let Julius Randall go, but Utah doesn't want that contract, right? Utah doesn't want that 4-year commitment left to Julius Randall. I think everyone will be happy if it would be Julius Randall traded in this deal, but Utah doesn't want him, right? So to me, I think RJ is the next best candidate to go in that scenario. And to me, it will make sense if the Knicks go ahead and do it.
I don't know.
Hey,
But
let me just point out though, you only got 1 tomato, bro.
I saw it. I dodged it too, real quick.
I don't know about it, but I understand where you're coming from, Josh. And I knew that if there was somebody of those guys you would want to go, it would be RJ. But
no, he didn't say that. He said it should be Randall.
No. I mean, but I'm saying but realistically, you can't move Randall. You know what I mean? Like I'm talking about who can actually.
But in fairness, though, to Josh and anyone who is okay with it, in all fairness, it's like you have to look at it fairly and realistically. And if you consider the position of the other team's not gonna, as we already spoke about. Why would they want to take Randall? They just did a deal for a power forward. It's a 4-year deal. You got Danny Ainge. He's trying to build from the bottom up. He wants young players. Right. So it's not about even like who you want to go. It's like projecting and forecasting what makes sense that the other team would want to engage in.
And that's not to say that Julius Randle's not wanted by any other team. It's just Utah specifically. They're in rebuilding mode. They wouldn't take on Randle's contract. They're more likely to take on someone like RJ, who, even if he is due a contract and they feel like he's going to be that guy, they can build around him and sign him, to a
Here's my $1 million question.
I don't know, but see, I don't know.
You got to bet everything in your wallet. RJ Barrett is going to be an all-star 3 times or more in his career. Are you willing to bet everything in your bank account and in your wallet on that?
No.
Mitchell's only 25. He's been an all-star 3 times already, and we know confidently he's likely to do it at least 3 more times in the future. So you don't want to trade somebody who won't make as many all-stars as this guy's already made in 5 years already.
Right. I get that. Right. But see, that's why I'm willing to add more draft picks. We talk about what Utah wants. Like Josh just said, maybe they'd be willing to build around RJ. If we're trading them, then we're not willing to build around RJ. You know what I mean? So, now we're saying that they're going to be willing to build around him. I don't think so. You know what I mean? I think most people in the league probably know what RJ is. And I think if you're bringing in Donovan Mitchell, he's going to be a good second or third piece to your Donovan Mitchell on this basketball team, or someone else that's even better, right? So I think he's a good second or third piece to your basketball team. That's why I'm willing to throw in more draft picks to keep RJ Barrett. And then we can figure out what happens with Julius Randle later on.
And to the extent, Sim, I agree with you. Let's do it like this. If it boils down to 4 unprotected first, and no RJ, or 2 unprotected first and RJ, which way we going? I think I agree with you, Sim. I'd rather do the 4 unprotected, get Mitchell here, rock with our best guys that we have so far, figure it out. Ron, what says you?
I'm worried about that.
Those are our 2 options, though.
But see, my whole thing is, oh man, you boxing me in, B.
Why they pay you the big bucks?
I missed the split the difference, B. I would go 3 unprotected.
I'm with
but I prefer 3. I prefer 3.
I would go 3. I can't do 4. Like, I don't think Leon Rose is ever touching the 4. I think the 4 would be, if Leon Rose gave up 4 unprotected, he'd be doing something against what looks like he's been trying to do for the past year or so. Looks like he's trying to set the Knicks up to become better, but also have some flexibility. And that would, I was talking earlier about this, that would set the Knicks back, and someone, the person made a really good point. I'm like, if you look at how the picks lay out, and you can't give consecutive picks, just look at the years, right? And then you go into the whole thing that you need to get somebody else in here to go along if you're trying to build a championship contender, if that's what you're looking for. So then you got to give up more value. You might not have a pick, a valuable pick for like the next 8 to 10 years. That's a scary thing, and it worries me a little bit. It kind of reminds me of the Layden days. I'm not saying it'd be that bad, because at least we'll have a good product out there. At least we'll be a winner.
You think it goes to 8 to 10 years?
Well, but so look at it like this, right? You give up 4 to Danny Ainge, so that's every other year, right? So that's 4 picks every other,
29.
Right.
Yeah, but
or the other way, 24, 26, 28, 30.
Yeah, but if you have your picks in the alternate years, and if you have a roster that's this good, you're expecting to be picking in the 20s anyway for at least the next 4 to 5 years with the roster that you will have after this deal is done. I mean, you got to have some confidence in what you're putting together too.
You wouldn't be able to move those picks, but
you can still draft them.
Still draft those players.
Yeah, you can still draft them. Then this is when you run into you run into the other issue. Okay, so say you give up the 4 picks, right? We already did it could be any number of every other year, right? And then you still have your pick for the other years, but you want to try to bring in another star player. Now you're already in a situation where you're going to have to pay Donovan Mitchell. Julius Randle is still here. Now you got to pay RJ. So where's the money for you to go out and get yourself a free agent, or at least enough money to get a good free agent, right? So that's one issue. Secondly, so you're saying you still got the draft pick. most likely your draft pick is not going to be a high draft pick. So the player may not be a player of impact. Then you're saying to yourself, well, I don't have the flexibility to move my picks like that. I just traded these other picks. So even if you trade the guy you drafted, you're going to have to come off of somebody who's already on the team and hope that you could bring somebody else who's a difference maker. And most likely, you're not going to have enough to bring in that difference maker. So this is kind of the thing. Like I'm telling you, when I was thinking about this and talking with somebody, we were going through every year, like, how is this going to work? And that's the only thing that scares me about it. I want Donovan here. I think the Knicks have to do it. But I also think, how do you really build a championship contender going forward if you make that move? You got to be smart about it.
Well, I think the next move is not in free agency. I think it's another trade, and now you got to use the player assets, salary value, and you know, maybe some of the young guys take another step in the next year, or things of that nature. So it's not just about the cap space that stops you from doing this, because you can still maneuver in the trade world. Floor yours.
Oh, I just wanted to say, Tony, to first answer your question, would I rather do the 4 unprotected first round picks or RJ and 2 first round picks? That's easy. I'm trading RJ and 2 first round picks because RJ Barrett's not worth 2 first round picks. He's not. You're not trading RJ Barrett and getting back 2 first round picks. That's just not happening. So I'll easily. I mean, there's no question about that. No one in the NBA is going to trade 2 first round picks for RJ Barrett.
I don't think it has to do with will you trade RJ Barrett for 2 first round picks. But if you're projecting that your team is going to be good, are those 2 first round picks going to be a player of RJ Barrett's caliber? Either one of those players.
Right, but y'all just talking about making trades and having more left over to make trades. So it's not necessarily about drafting the 2 draft picks. You can use them and you can go ahead and flip them. So to answer your question, Tony, absolutely, I'm doing the latter of what you said. And to address something that what Sim said earlier in regards to why would Utah build around him and we won't. Utah is in a totally different position than we are. Utah is completely rebuilding. They stripped everything down to the ground, to the bottom. They have the money, right? And we can have the money to go over the cap to sign RJ anyway, but they're in a different situation. That's why they will be more likely to build around RJ compared to us, because we have contracts that go 3-4 years down the road right now, currently on the roster, right? And we will be getting back a player like Donovan Mitchell, who we will then be building around, as opposed to them not having that player and they're using RJ Barrett to do that.
That's my point. I don't think at where Utah is, personally, you know, you look and say, yeah, he's a guy that's going to take us to the promised land. So I'm building around him. You maybe build with him. Building around and building with, I think, are 2 very different things.
Okay.
You know, so maybe you look and say, this is a guy that could be a piece of the puzzle for us, but I don't know if I'm staking everything that I have on RJ Barrett.
Agreed. I mean, they won't have anything anyway. So with or around, whatever, they're still going to probably give him a contract, right? I don't mean like, you know.
I mean, my thing is when you say with and you say around, I think it's 2 different strategies in the way that you attract. Like you say, you build around LeBron James. So we got to get shooters. We got to get this. We got to get that to build around him because we know he's going to make those guys better. RJ Barrett is a player you build, you put him around a LeBron James or whoever else. You know what I'm saying? You know, so you're building with RJ Barrett. He's a piece to somebody else being the centerpiece.
Agreed. Well, either way, I still think Utah gives him a contract if he goes in the deal.
Right, and I think 2 things can happen. RJ goes to Utah, he plays well, you know, mid-season, you know, trade deadline, trade bait. Utah flips him and they get another draft pick or 2 around him, which makes up for the draft picks, you know, and that's just, you know, loading up their cupboard. RJ's playing great. They re-sign him to a max. Now, similar to like a SGA in Oklahoma. So, all right, SGA, like, he's really good. We like him. He hasn't been an all-star yet. But you know what? We'll get all these picks, though, and we might hit a home run like Chet Holmgren. You know, we might hit a home run to put alongside him. And now instead of building around RJ, we got a really solid piece already locked in. And now we're able to use all these draft picks to, you know, hit a home run, you know, with it like that. So it can work out a few different ways for Utah.
Yeah. It could. It could. I just think, I don't know. I think it's going to be hard to find a guy that could potentially be your second or third piece. Even I mean, you'll have some draft picks to trade, but you're still talking about only having two to trade. Are you getting a guy? I don't know if you're getting a guy with just those two. And even if you give up three, now you got one to trade. It's
You
it's
talking
it's
about us?
You
it's a
see,
tough,
no, that's
tough
why it's tough,
situation.
Sim.
It's a tough situation because when you talk about bringing in a guy that's potentially better than Donovan Mitchell, you're probably talking about three draft picks or four draft picks because you're trying to bring in a guy better than Donovan Mitchell. You know what I'm saying?
Depending on where and when too.
Depending on
Like as far as they may be in the final year of their contract. I think that brings
so,
brings
you know,
the value, the
me,
amount of draft picks.
I'm looking and I mean, I really like trying to do it with three. I think that cutting in the middle, I actually think that's what's going to end up happening. Right? I think it's going to be three unprotected first round draft picks, and then we'll see what the player package is like. Uh, I'm all for trying to keep RJ here, then figuring out what you're going to do with Julius Randle. Maybe you still got him for a year. Then that next year you can maybe trade him and maybe bring back another draft pick. With the trade, be able to split them up and not split. You know what I mean. But with the trade, now you're bringing back some, a few impact players. You know, and then now, and maybe even bringing back some guys on shorter contracts. However, the front office has ways of working it out so that now it's to their advantage. They've showed me that they've been able to do that so far, right? Work things so that they're able to bring back more draft picks or their salary is to their advantage. So I trust them in that regard. Any way that it works, they're going to have to do a lot of configuring and figuring out a way to, be smart about bringing in some assets. Because either way, if you give up three or four, you're missing those draft picks that you're going to be able to trade. But you still got RJ, which could be traded later on if you needed to. If you trade RJ, that's a chip that you don't have, and you give up two or three with RJ. Now you got two or three, two or one, to trade later on that to get the kind of guy you need may not be enough. So it's going to be there's going to have to be some other moves to bring in more draft picks. I think either way you think about it,
Yep.
going to have to be
Yep.
some moves to bring in draft picks later.
I just
I,
want to add this real quick. This front office, I do the 4 picks first. That would be my preference, and here's why. Not only do we have the plethora of first round picks, we have the plethora of second round picks. This front office has proven since they've been together that they can find diamonds in the rough. They can. I have confidence that they can find me a good player in the second round. I have confidence that if they can combine 2 second picks and get up into the 25, 28 range and get into that first round, they can find talent there as well. Um, they've shown that it don't matter where they are positioned, they can move back and get just as good talent later on in the draft that they could find. So I think when it comes to protections or whatever the case, the Knicks. What did Brock say? He prefers to be in that middle of the pack range when drafting anyway. Like that's like his comfort zone where you know what I mean. He could really find those diamonds in the rough. So that's another reason why I think I would prefer. What Knicks fans are saying, F them picks. You know what I mean? Like I rather get rid of the picks. We see what we have in RJ, tangible, and projections are he will be better. He's gotten better year after year. Um, that doesn't say it's a deal breaker for me, but if those are my options, forget them picks, man. We our front office has been able to find diamonds in the rough and make maneuvers to combine these 2 seconds and let me get a late first or move this first and I'll get 2 second or two first next year, you know what I mean, or whatever the case. So I trust the front office in that sense too.
Well, I just wanted to say one thing is I, I was like you. I once was like you, Tony. No, I too was thinking that way. But the flip side is you try to put something together and you got a combination of stuff that don't work. Maybe Tibbs is the problem. We don't know. I'm just saying if we get there, maybe Tibbs is the problem. Maybe the chemistry between Donovan, if he's here, and whoever else is on the team doesn't really work. So it's a wasted year. So that means you got to build and change things around, tweak things a little bit, go into the next year and do all this stuff. And maybe 2 years down the line, when Donovan Mitchell's contract is up and he has a chance to re-sign with the Knicks, but the Knicks haven't really broken any ground. Like we haven't really improved. Maybe we've kind of just teeter-tottered, just made a playoff spot, but never looked like there was some issues there, right? So then Donovan walks. We gave up all them picks. Now we not that far from having to possibly get into a rebuild again. We don't know, but now we got nothing to rebuild with. I'm not.
That's very worst case scenario. And I just want to say, like, we bring Mitchell in, no matter what, we're gonna have to figure it out. We all agree that we bring Mitchell in. This is not a finished product. So,
right.
if two guys don't mesh properly, guess what? One of them got to go.
Right.
That's what it is, regardless. You know what I mean?
If you trade RJ, you get down the line and it don't work. Like, man, we traded RJ. If you don't trade RJ, you get down the line and you trade the draft picks, like you said. Now we don't have no draft. I mean, either way, one way, if it don't work out, it's gonna come back to bite you. People are gonna be like,
that's a fact.
Damn, you messed up. You shouldn't have traded RJ, or you shouldn't have traded those picks.
You gotta have contingency plans.
And let me just say this. I wanted to say something real quick, but I also wanted to ask you guys something because I haven't heard anything new, if it's true or not. But the other thing is, I just want another reason. I feel like some Knicks fans are maybe just like, they're looking at Donovan and how good of a player he is, and he would be the best player on our team right away. But it doesn't mean that once he gets here and you got a 6-1 backcourt, that's it. You can't do anything. This year may be tough to really make a couple changes to really fill out the roster to make it more formidable, but that doesn't mean you can't do something next year. Like it's like almost like if you get the 2 6-1 guys, that's it. You're stuck with that team. You can't build around them. You can't get a 6-8 wing or so. Like you can still do things going forward. You just got to be patient. It's not going to happen overnight. But what I wanted to ask you guys, have they debunked that rumor about Phoenix? Now I'm not saying that this is Julius, but I know the fact that they said that something came out that they were interested in a power forward, a post-up type power forward to be an acquisition for their team. And I'm not saying that that's Julius, because as much as we want Julius to be that, he doesn't play that way. He could, I think, but he just doesn't.
I think he will if he goes to Phoenix.
I was going to say, you put him next to a point guard, then, yeah, he's going to have to play his role.
Julius Randle is going to do what the coaches and what they ask him to do. I mean, I think he came here and they asked him to do something because that was the best way that the Knicks could compete. And so that's what he did. I think if they ask him, to play more inside or do whatever, I think he'll try to do just that.
I agree with that.
All you got to do is tell it to him. Hey, man, they can't guard you down there. That, you know what I mean? Like, you a mismatch every time down there. Like, use your strength. Use your speed. You got feet. You got feed his brain, make him feel like, oh, this is where I thrive.
Right. Well, that's honestly, he should be playing like that for the Knicks as well. Like we saw him when he got mad, and he was kind of forced into that situation against the Brooklyn Nets. We were watching the game for the watch along. When he started to get down low, he was having his way down there.
That's what I was referring to on the Knicks.
Right. Yeah, I just don't know if he likes playing that way all the time. I know he can, but I don't know if he enjoys that. But here's the thing. How sick will we be as Knicks fans if Phoenix wanted Julius and we traded him to Phoenix and Phoenix won the championship? How sick would that be?
I wouldn't be sick at all. I wouldn't be sick about that at all. Phoenix is already a Western Conference contender for a title. So I wouldn't be sick about that. That's just expected.
But I'm saying for us as Knicks fans to see one of our players that, you know what I mean?
Some people would be, how some people are about.
Right.
I told you.
You know,
but Tony, so I personally, for me, and like I said, this can go either way. I think if you do two picks plus RJ and Fournier or whatever, or if you do the 4 picks, Fournier and Cam Reddish or something like that, I'll be fine with it either way, right? Regardless, like you guys said, the Knicks are still going to have to make some moves later on down the road. For me, though, personally, I just feel like any combination of Mitchell and RJ or Mitchell and Randall is better than RJ and Randall. I just that fit right there. At some point, it's going to have to. One of those guys are going to have to go, right? That's just how I feel about that. Now, they could keep RJ now and then again try to work a trade for Randall later, but I think that's a lot more difficult to do. For Julius Randle. Not saying it's impossible. Some fans like, well, Randle's completely untradeable. No, I'm not like that. I think Randle can possibly be traded. But again, that's what you're going to have to pretty much look to work to do because I don't think it's going to work out with Brunson, Mitchell, RJ, and Randle. I really just don't like that fit. I think the offense is still going to be not as good as it should or could be, in my opinion.
And to your point, it could be RJ moved down the line. He might be the valuable piece that we need to move for the Knicks.
So that's going to be more difficult because okay, let's say we give him a 5-year max contract and he's not living up. He doesn't take that step that we all think he's going to take. Now you got an albatross on your hands on the roster, and the Knicks are now in a luxury tax situation, right? And the team is not going anywhere. That's way tougher to deal with than
just dealing with now.
I just don't think he's getting a max contract.
Oh no!
Wherever he goes, I don't think.
Well, I wanted to ask you guys real quick. What if someone in the Knicks organization or the people that are putting RJ in those trades? What if they got feelers out there, have been talking to RJ and say, okay, RJ is probably going to want a max contract. That's why we're going to put him in this deal. What if that's?
I mean, that could be a scenario.
I think Ron mentioned that earlier too.
I think that the Knicks probably already know what his agent is looking for. I think they probably have a good idea of what that is. And the reason why they haven't extended him or whatever is because they're waiting to see what happens. I think if the Knicks get Donovan Mitchell and RJ's still on the team, he gets extended. Boom. That's what I think. I think he gets extended quick.
Oh, like before the season.
Yeah. Or before that October date. Oh, I guess before the season, yeah. I think he gets extended. That's just what I think. Right? I mean, this front office have shown that they like stability and they like guys to feel like I'm stable and we're gonna, we're moving forward together. Right. So you've seen them, Julius Randle. They've went ahead, they got things done with Mitch. You know what I mean? Like early, like in the years past, they've taken care of guys, gotten it done, and then boom, so that they can go in with guys feeling kind of stable. I think that they probably take care, if it happens, they take care of RJ.
I think you're right.
Right for now. How much though?
We'll figure that out when
I don't know. I mean,
he said before the season. No, I mean that's a good question. Before, if they want to do it before the season, it's in their best interest to do so. Because if RJ takes that next step, right, then you're talking about you have to pay him a max contract. So if you don't think he's a max contract now, what do you think he's worth right now? Because
I think the numbers that Ron said earlier, starting like between 140 and 150, if we can lock him up for those numbers, I think that's a good medium ground based off of his growth, based off of normal projections of growth. You know what I mean? Not him maxing out or peaking out, and it's still under that max contract threshold to where he might be able to outplay his contract.
Well, in that case, if I'm gonna take less than a max, if I'm RJ, then I'm not doing 5 years. I'm gonna be doing like
I do.
I'm gonna be doing like 3 years at 100 million or something like that, versus the 5 years at 188.
I don't think it can be 5 if you go under max. I don't think it can be a 5-year contract.
Oh no, yeah. No, I said it would be like 3 years for like for 100 or 110 versus the 5 years for the max 188.
Right.
I mean, listen, he does like even if what Josh is saying could be true. So I was just looking at it like if you're saying 140, that would be if it was 5 years, that's 28 per year. But if what Josh is saying is true, then they can't offer him that. It has to be more compensation for less years. even if the amount is smaller. But it's still, I think that's the ballpark of where RJ's value is in today's NBA. Looking at his peers, I mean, he's there with his peers. Some of his peers may be better. I think Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, his contract is more lucrative than that, and it makes sense. So
And
I mean, but you got to look at it like it's a business, and some of these situations can be cutthroat too. When you guys were talking earlier about, I don't know if you saw it when I put it in the chat, when you were talking about Colin Sexton. Cleveland offered Colin Sexton 3 years for $40 million, and he was averaging 21 points before he got hurt. I mean, you know, that's rough. So just saying, like,
to better compare, I think, in my opinion, you got coming out of RJ's draft class. Let's look at a couple of comparable players, DeAndre Hunter and Darius Garland, guys drafted right behind him. Garland's been an all-star. Hunter probably closer to being an all-star than RJ. These guys are going to be up for deals. Like, I think these guys are both closer to max deals than RJ is, for sure. You already got Brunson. If you're bringing Spider in, I mean, like, you're not in a position where, oh, well, this is our guy. He's our number one, our number two guy. We got to pay him the max deal. And I think, like, to the point I think that Josh was making, trade him now. You know what I'm saying? Just if you, and again, I'm not advocating to trade him, but if you trade him now, financially, it seems like it makes better business sense than paying someone that, like, I'm not paying a max contract for a guy I don't feel like is absolutely making me feel strongly they're going to be an all-star if they haven't been an all-star already. Let's say like a James Harden, who, you know, we all saw something big coming from him. You know what I mean? Hadn't been an all-star yet. But, like, I don't know. I don't know if RJ makes 3 all-star appearances in his career. I'm not paying a max for that guy. Not him.
Right.
Or forget about the career. What about through the length of the contract? If you're giving someone max money, they should be an all-star player at least
half
3
that
out
time.
of 4, half that at least.
Right. Was Garland an all-star?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, Garland got 5 years, $193 million.
That's a max contract.
Yeah. I mean, Garland's, like, he earned the max contract. I don't feel like RJ has.
That's why you just do it. You do everything incentive based.
You can't give incentives to a rookie on the extension.
Really?
For the CBA, I just read it. Surprised me too.
Didn't Zion's contract have?
It says designated rookie scale player extension. The extension cannot include any incentive compensation.
Is that in the rookie deal or in the second contract?
Designated rookie scale player extension. So any first round draft pick that's completed 3 years of service on his rookie contract, entering his 4th season in the league.
So Zion's rules, it's not considered incentives. It's based. It's considered like what is that considered?
I gotta look at Zion's contract.
I know he has weight. He has restrictions or weight things that he has to maintain for certain dollar amounts to be guaranteed, let's say. But maybe that's not considered an incentive because that's not a stat. You know what I mean? That's not an all-star appearance. That's not. That's outside of performance based. Absolutely. So maybe that's why they were able to do that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't even think it has to do with games played. So I think it's strictly weight related. So maybe that's why they were able to put that in there. But Embiid, wasn't he coming off of his rookie extension? His joint was definitely games played, minutes played, and things of that nature.
So they mentioned Joel Embiid's contract. It says Sixers signed Joel Embiid to a designated rookie scale player extension, pegging his salary at 25% of the salary cap in the first year of the extended term, which was just over $25 million. Included in his annual percent, because you has to increase by 8% every year. So included in his annual 8% increases, the original projected value of Embiid's extension was over $146 million. As Bobby Marks reported, Embiid's extension included a clause that increases his salary to 30% of the salary cap if he makes all NBA first team, or if he achieved that honor, the extension's overall value would increase by $30 million. So yeah, I don't understand the difference between and the clause. I don't understand the language.
It's probably lawyer talk, the way they get around certain things.
Because I do know if you do make an all NBA team, the money, it does go up. If you do make an all NBA team, a lot of contracts are based that way, but this says it's not incentive based.
Durant's contract is based that way. So he makes 23-24 this season coming up, and he'll make 33.3 million. But if he's all NBA, he'll make 39.9 million. In 24-25, he makes 35.9 million. If he's all NBA, in the same season, he'll make 43.1 million. Right, so he signed a $193 million contract, but it could be worth $231 million based on if he makes all NBA.
So here it says incentives. Incentive is a type of a performance bonus is an incentive compensation where the players or team's achievements agreed upon benchmarks during the season entitles the player to additional compensation. These benchmarks must be based on numerical measurements rather than, for example, shooting a better free throw percentage the prior season, or generally recognized league honors, MVP, Finals MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Sixth Man, Most Improved, All NBA, All Defensive, stuff like that. So an incentive will be numbers based as opposed to making All NBA. There you go. You muted, Tony.
No, I was just saying copy.
Right. So I mean, but so instead of saying incentives, you could make it something else.
Right.
Stipulations. Someone in the chat pointed out.
That's my word. I love that word.
All-star team, you make this.
Yeah. I don't know, man. This was a good show. Almost 2 hours, hour and 40 minutes. Appreciate you guys for joining. Go around. Any last words? Any shows coming up? Anything you want to promote before we get out of here? We start with Josh and work our way around.
Oh yeah.
Where's the next controversy?
I'm gonna wait for a little bit. I'm gonna wait for the Mitchell news to happen, and then I'll start it back up. I'm finishing up my degree right now, so that's why I've been really in and out busy. Yeah, gotta finish that up. But yeah, always a pleasure to be here, Tony, DJ Shuttle, Ron, Sim. You know what it is. Let's do it.
Shuttle.
Salute to the degree. Definitely take care of that paperwork. You know what I mean? In case the controversy don't work, you got something to fall back on. You feel me? Listen, brand new Rock Marciano mixtape out now. If you haven't heard it, DJ Shuttle Best of Rock Marciano. His new album just dropped, so I kind of had this sitting in the can ready for the right time. So with the new project, I figured it made sense to drop it. It's on my SoundCloud. Hit my Instagram, DJ Shuttle NYC, for that link. If you're in New York City, I'm gonna be doing a brunch next week in Harlem at Corner Social, September 3rd. Pop out for that. No entry, just pay and get your food and drinks. Have a great time. Every Friday, catch me on that radio, iHeartRadio, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. 108 Soul, doing what we do.
Let me just tell y'all, the Rock Marciano mixtape is fire. I already listened to it, and I don't know if you got updated downloads for the soul joint, but them 2 joints that's on there on the SoundCloud, those get me through my Uber rides, and I get all the compliments in the world. Get me some extra tips and all that. So
10%, fly that over. 10%, fly that over, cat.
Got you. Rod.
I'm just looking at the list once again. It's been updated, whatever. I'm just looking at the list of free agents that are supposed to come out in the 2023 year. And I don't know. I looked at a list of the guys coming out in 2024 as well. I think Siakam's supposed to come out in 2024. This is tough, man. So I think sometimes you just got to do what you can to go acquire the best talent to make the team better when you can. And then hopefully things work out differently in your favor going forward. You figure out another way to add a piece, or because who knows what's going to happen. All these guys could re-sign or not, or the guys could be available that you don't feel a game changes, that you can add them, but does that really move the needle? So it's tough. I don't know. But let's just stay patient. Knick fans, something good is going to work out. And even if the Donovan move doesn't happen, I still think we're going to be all right. Either way, I think we need him, but either way, we're going to be okay. They'll figure something out, and we'll give these young guys a chance to play and see if they're worth us investing in them and believing in them. Outside of that, check the NBA report tomorrow night. Myself and John back at it on the ones and twos. With Jose is not in the background; he's on vacation. So salute to him. Enjoy him. I know he's enjoying it. I saw the tropical beach, so he's good. Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow at 8 for the NBA report on the Nothing But Knicks network. And then Know the Ledge this Saturday, 11 a.m. And then Monday for our SKF weekly show. I think we're going to have the Gook fam up in there. Guard Up Knicks might be on Monday. So, yes, stay tuned.
Full itinerary. You might as well posted it up. Hey, come on, this time, this channel, this time. But, that's how you stay consistent, man. Appreciate
I'm working, man. Listen, I'll put something out there.
Time.
Like in 2 weeks, don't be surprised if you see Fat Joe.
Oh man, yo,
on the street somewhere, maybe just walking around.
You get Fat Joe. I'm gonna be an honorary member on that episode, man. Get me a pin or a T-shirt or something. But Fat Joe's my guy. BX all day. Sim.
Man,
the Podfather.
I just gotta say, go get Donovan Mitchell. Just go get Donovan Mitchell, man. We can figure it out. Get Donovan Mitchell.
I like the waiting game, though. The waiting game. I love the waiting game.
Donovan Mitchell. Be responsible, but get Donovan Mitchell. Be responsible, but get Donovan Mitchell, man.
That sounds like a T-shirt right there, Sim. Be responsible, get Donovan Mitchell.
You know what I'm saying? We need an injection of talent. Make it happen. Let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Sounds like he wants to deal RJ to get it done. That's what it sounds like, Tony.
You know what?
That's what it sounds like. You heard it here first. Sim wants to deal RJ to get the Mitchell deal done. You heard it.
That sounds like Andy clickbait.
Like I said earlier, if it came down to this last thing, I probably do the deal. But I'm trying as hard as I can not to put RJ in the deal. But I want to get it done because we need it. I don't believe that this roster is going to end up being a 50-win team or better. I don't. 4 years down the line, do I think 4 years down the line, if this roster is together, they're going to be a 50-win team? I don't. I feel like we need more talent on the team in order to get there. So, I want to go get that guy. Other than that, Josh, congratulations on the degree. You know what I mean?
We gotta celebrate.
Almost done. Almost. Not yet. Almost. I'm working.
Keep pounding it out. You know what I mean? And go get those home opener tickets, ladies and gentlemen. You can make deposit tomorrow. The tickets are going to be out, so you can make deposits up. You can make deposits now, but go get those home opener tickets. It's gonna be dope. It's gonna be dope, and we're gonna be hitting the whole East Coast this whole season. So be ready.
Got some things in store.
Can't wait.
The MBK tour.
No doubt.
Shut up. Let me be quiet. Last time I almost spilled the beans, my whole system shut down. Sim hit the red button on me. Oh man, shout out to the chat, man. You guys was lit today.
Shut up, you're a fool, man. Yo, you crazy.
Oh man, this has been one of the best ones, man. I appreciate you guys for joining. Appreciate you guys in the chat. I believe I'll be back next week, Monday, Knicks and Bruises. I don't think we got the crossover Wednesday I think we got one more week off because Queen comes back Wednesday.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Queen. Enjoy your trip. I want to see those pictures this time on the glaciers. And yeah, man, I appreciate all you guys. Thank you for joining. Until next time, your blackest time.